Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back to another movie review. Coming from the Toronto International Film Festival, I got a chance to see Christy from director David Michôd, starring Sydney Sweeney, Ben Foster, Merritt Wever, and Katie O'Brien. And this follows the life of Christy Salters, of course known as Christy Martin, back in her days when she was establishing herself as one of the most prominent female boxers in the industry, a real trailblazer, if you will, back in the 90s with her husband, who is played by Ben Foster in this film. And, you know, I was lucky enough to get to see this with everybody there. I didn't even realize that they were at the theater until I came back in. And, you know, of course, Christy Salters and of course, Sydney Sweeney, Ben Foster, everybody was there. And it was really cool getting to see them up on stage briefly. But of course, this is another biopic, sports biopic, in fact. And so the question going into this was, one, was it going to fall into the camp of all the other generic sports biopics we've gotten? And two, was Sydney Sweeney coming for her first Oscar nomination? Now, of course, the latter is yet to be confirmed. You never know what happens during award season and how movies take off. But what I will say about this film was I found it to be very, very conventional. And really, I think it's the performances that elevate it more than anything else. Sydney Sweeney as Christy Martin, probably the best performance she's given on film that I've seen. And I think people really need to watch this movie and understand that she's not just, you know, some pretty face who's known for her looks and her body. Like, she's so talented. And I feel like, say what you will about Sydney Sweeney, but she really dedicated herself to this role and to the craft that she is a part of. And I thought that she was really great, especially in the first half of this movie. I think she really gets the most interesting stuff to do, and she does transform very much so into Christy Martin. And so shout out to Sydney Sweeney, an absolute MVP in this movie. But Ben Foster, my goodness, this is probably the most disgusting and just terrifying performance he's ever given as her husband. And I didn't know the whole story, but the dynamic between them is absolutely insane. I also wanted to shout out Merritt Wever as her mother, who was really almost equally as despicable. Like, my goodness, I could not believe where she took that character in this movie, in this real-life story. Like, the fact that this actually happened is really crazy to me. Because I think the best part about this movie is not the boxing scenes, because really they aren't anything that special. You know, you don't get like the one-shot take that you get in Creed. You know, nothing like that to be found in Christy. But it's really the stuff in the second half of the movie that I think really puts it over for me. Because besides that, there isn't a whole lot that I could really latch onto. But some other standouts I wanted to mention were Chad L. Coleman as Don King, who was absolutely hysterical every time he showed up on screen. And I also really liked Katie O'Brien's presence in this as well, albeit I think she's a bit underutilized in the narrative, and I wish they could have leaned into that a bit more. But, you know, this movie felt very overly long. It's over 2 hours, and it feels more than 2.5, which is certainly not great. I don't know if, you know, it's going to get cut up a little bit more after the screenings at TIFF. You never know how movies change from festival to theatrical release, but I definitely feel that this is way long in the tooth. And, you know, it is what it is. But like I said, when you get to the last section of the movie, that's when I really perked up, and I was just like so taken by this story that is just so insane and tragic and heartbreaking. Really, my heart goes out to Christy Salters, because she really is such an incredible woman to have to go through everything that she did and come out on top. I mean, that's really hard to do. So yeah, I mean, this isn't a great movie by any means. I also thought the transition in time really didn't feel that natural with the makeup. It didn't feel like, you know, 20 years had passed in that regard. So another fault against the movie, but even so, it's just such a powerful story. You have to see it just out of respect for Christy herself. And yeah, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. You know, it's not anything that you wouldn't expect until later on in the story, but it really is such a great tribute to a very resilient and strong-willed woman. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this, if you saw it at the festival, or, you know, as this is coming out. Tell me what you thought about Christy and so much more down in the comments below. And please smash the like button, subscribe to this channel if you want to see more reviews coming out of TIFF. Of course, I got to get to No Other Choice, but before that, I have to talk about the latest from Paul Thomas Anderson, One Battle After Another, my most anticipated movie of the year. Very glad to share my full thoughts on that with you guys. So stay tuned for that and everything else, and I will talk to you very, very soon.